Welcome to the Infill Podcast, where we interview the most interesting members of the 3D printing and maker communities, live and with audience participation. And now, here is your host, Jonathan Levy.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to what promises to be another great episode of the show. Today, we're going to learn about some new applications for 3D printing, or ones at least that we haven't talked about on the show yet. Before we do that, though, I do need to do the segment we start every show with, which is What's Printing, Jonathan? Brought to you by, of course, Octo Everywhere, which allows you to see all your printers in all your locations, whether you have 1 or 50. Remotely, you can see actually behind me over my left shoulder is the only printer I'm currently running, and I can just log right into it, and I will show you guys what's printing, which is a multicolor faceplate using the box turtle. So 2-color ABS print for a tool head for the tool changer, which we're going to have some very exciting news coming up about on with. On to today's episode. Today we are joined by Brigitte Kock, who is a fashion designer, 3D printing things in, well, all kinds of materials, but a lot of TPU. You and I met, Bridge, I think at Smurf, the first one. So we're already acquainted. I've already had the pleasure of getting to know you and your work, but welcome to the show. I'm really excited
Thank you.
to have you on, finally.
Yes, excited to be here. I think even before that, we met through, what was it, like the
That's right.
Patreon Master
Patreon.
thing? Yeah, so
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
been a while.
That's right, Patreon. We connected through Patreon. And so you're known all over the web as Variable Seams. I wanted to make sure to mention that. Tell me a little bit about your background, because I know your work. I don't know how you got into all this. How did you, did you come from fashion? Did you come from 3D printing? Did you come from both? Where did you come from?
It's an often asked question. So 3D printing wasn't the start. For me, fashion was the start. And I think that goes as early back. There's this picture of me as a 6-year-old in a paper dress I made. It looks absolutely horrendous, but it kind of shows like, oh, I want to make something that I can wear with whatever material is on hand. And then from there on, of course, I applied for like a fashion academy, got rejected. And then I was like, okay, I'll do for my plan B, which was a technical university, because there's always been that interest in both technical stuff as well as fashion stuff. And that I did get accepted there. So that's the route I took. And then during that period, I found 3D printers because they were in the studio that I was working in. And then that's kind of from where it went.
So that's really cool that originally you wanted to be in fashion anyway. And we always think about, like, you know, gatekeepers coming down in terms of media and stuff, or like television, that now the gatekeepers have come down and anyone can publish, you know,
Yes.
videos on YouTube, but we don't think about it in terms of fashion. But it's true. Like, there are gatekeepers, I'm sure, not just in the learning of fashion, but also in, you know, getting into the best companies and internships. And I guess 3D printing, in a way, has brought down those gates.
Ooh, not just 3D print. I think social media more than 3D printing, I would say.
Right.
Because you can, like, even before 3D printing, you'd be able to get a sewing machine and start your
True.
own thing.
True.
And I think being able to fail upwards, because indeed, like, if I were to go back to that moment and judge, like, the work that I had to bring in front of the judges, because there was literally 4 judges sitting there judging you and what you were doing. If I were to go back to that moment and judge what I did now, I would also be like, no, I don't think you're suitable, because you need time to grow. And I think social media is great for putting your work out there. And at some point, like, you're going to get better at what you're doing. And you can actually start experimenting with real life feedback. And I think that's the beauty
Right.
of it, probably.
Now, help me understand. Why is 3D printing special for fashion and garments? I don't want to say textiles, because I don't know if you'd call it 3D printing textiles. Like, what does it offer that is new, right? Because you have to think fashion or clothing is probably one of the oldest trades. Before anything else, before blacksmithing, before woodworking, probably we were making clothing, and yet you're doing new and interesting things, and it's an exciting space. I know yourself, Denit Peleg, a lot of really cool designers are doing cool things. Like, what does 3D printing bring to the table that wasn't possible with fabric?
Ooh, I think the direction that I'm taking it from, or where I'm coming from, is the one thing that I really disliked about making fashion the way it's made right now is that if you've got a piece of cloth, you need to cut out the fashion pieces. And once you do that, there is an insane amount of waste that you have to throw
Right.
out. I was looking for ways to create fashion, like manufacture it zero waste. And on top of that, also add in some like new stuff of like, how can you get something that fits absolutely perfectly? And
Sure.
that customization. So instead of having your medium, your small, your large, whatever, you cut all of that out and you write a software that scans you or however you do that. And then you get something that's just for you with just the material you need. And 3D printing is like a really good technology to
Yeah.
enable.
That's interesting. Now I know a lot of the stuff you make is hand assembled, right? Almost like couture. I guess let me ask this
Yes.
question first, which is like,
Hmm.
how much of your work is actually making clothes for people versus making designs that other people can print versus, social media, entertainment? How's the
Ooh,
breakdown?
right now, I would say it is probably 30% in all these areas. Maybe I'm trying to go
Mm.
more heavy on the social media versus the other things. And I just finished a really big project for like someone who actually wore it out to an event, which is super exciting. And I think that was the moment. That's also why I brought up the rejection from fashion school. But then someone actually paying to wear something to a big event is like, that was like a realization. And that happened literally 2 weeks ago. So that's like a big realization of, whoa, you don't actually need to go through any education to get to this
Sure.
kind of point. Um, but I would say that is very, very time consuming because you make it really custom for one person. So I don't do that too much. So maybe let's say 20%. And then the
Yeah.
other 40/40 on social media and
It
design.
sounds to me, from what you said earlier, that the future of this is actually, maybe you tell me, is the future like the Adidas 4D forwards, where companies are using 3D printing, or is the future individuals printing out their own clothes, or is it a little bit of both? Like, what's the ideal future for this
Um,
application of 3D printing?
Personally, I would want to be in a future where you literally have something inside your house and like the night before you can be like, I need this or I need that, and it prints it for you and it cuts out a lot of the waste of like transport and whatnot. So I think they call it the replicator, isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, yeah.
It's been in some sort of like I remember a sci-fi movie. So that would be my ideal. And I think where companies come in is probably putting the designs into that machine that you can then click on.
Yes, and I'm just thinking, whenever I think 3D printed fashion now, the first kind of
Mhm.
concern that I have is comfort. And I
Yeah.
think that's getting better, but like back in the day with your standard TPUs, it's not super comfortable on skin. Like, how far have we come?
Mhm.
I know of a few filaments that are actually designed to be on skin. Like, how far have we come? What filaments are exciting for on the body?
I think the most exciting filament I've worked with recently is Balena Science because it's also a biomaterial. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
they're based
great.
here in Tel
And
Aviv.
yeah, I know. And they're the material doesn't really feel plasticky anymore. It feels more gummy. It feels like
Yep,
natural latex. And I think that is a like it's still not your silk. I don't think it
sure.
will ever be unless we completely change the 3D printer itself. But that is one of the most exciting materials I've seen so far, or like
Right.
at the moment.
It's interesting though. You say I don't think it'll ever be as soft as, but most of the clothes we wear today are plastic. Like, this is plastic technically. I don't
Yeah.
know what percentage, but polyester is plastic, and people don't realize it. Now, granted, it's woven very, very small and very thin, um, but I wonder. how limited we are technologically to get filaments that feel like our polyester blends. And by the way, polyester can be softer. Certain polyesters can be softer than cotton, which really makes me wonder.
I think the most interesting bit about that is that it's not the material in that sense that's the issue, it's the machine. So if you have FDM 3D printing, everything, like every layer that you print, they all stick together and therefore you have no movement. Whereas if you have the strands that can move independently, that's why polyester doesn't feel as bad. And that's
Ah,
so it's just about how can you change the machine to then start working towards that. And I think the liquid rapid liquid printing is one of the
yeah.
ways that I think is one of the most exciting developments in the 3D printing space for textile.
Yeah, wow. Have you played around with Ninja Tech Chinchilla?
Not yet.
Oh,
Tell
you
me more.
have to. It is the only filament I know. Maybe I guess Balena also, but I thought the Balena stuff was made for shoes, so you're supposed to wear socks.
Hmm.
Ninja Tech TPU is the only filament I know that is actually literally designed to be on the body. It's rated, I don't know
Okay.
what the standard is, but it's rated like skin safe, no agitation. It's not cheap and it's
Hmm.
hard to print, but it's like so I mean they call it chinchilla for a reason, right? And it's super soft. Like you could wear it on your face all day and be super comfortable.
Do you know the grade, the softness?
I want to say it's around 84, 80.
Okay.
It's not as soft. I have a 70 and that's like completely gummy.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I usually have a pair of shoes here that I printed, but I broke them. Highly recommended to play around with it.
Okay.
Um,
I'll give it a try. I think it's one of the because it's a US based company,
yeah,
therefore I haven't tried it yet. It feels bad to say it, but it's easier to get filament
sure.
that comes from around here.
What
Um,
filaments are you mostly using? Like, what are your go-tos? I think a lot of it's TPU, right?
oh yeah, 100%. So I have a shelf like literally behind my computer that is all TPU except for this 5 rolls at the bottom.
Wow.
um, So, favorite brands, I would say Ray Creos is still one of my favorite brands. It's a Spanish company. They have really soft filaments. Then probably after that, there's kind of three brands that I work with a lot. So Cookie Cat, that is a US based brand, but they have
Yeah,
amazing colors, so I make
they
exceptions.
do.
Fiberology, based in Poland,
Hmm.
they make some really crazy colors as well. And Smart Materials 3D, based in Spain. And I think that's the most of them actually. Oh, and Isan,
And are you
based in China.
mostly printing like 90 95s, or are you printing like very soft stuff? Or all
It
around?
depends what I feel like. I think one of the most interesting things on the shoes, because you mentioned printing shoes, right? It's
Right.
something I rarely do. And recently I was working on a shoe project, which horrendously failed up until this point. So I'm still working on it. But I figured out that actually for shoes, you need a softer filament than you do for textiles,
Right.
which really surprised me. It's just because of how thick you print it, because the thicker it gets, the harder it becomes. Whereas I print
Right.
so thin that even the hard materials are quite all right.
Interesting. Interesting. And a lot of what you do is stitching things together by hand and stuff like that. Do you do a lot also of garments that are like, are we at the point, if I gave you the Soval SV08 Max, which is a 500 by
Hmm.
500, I guess you couldn't print the whole garment, but could you print like the whole front of something, the whole back, and just have, or it needs to be a lot more pieces?
So you could, but then you get back to that point what I was mentioning about how all of the fibers stick together. So if you print
Right.
that big a piece in one go, it's going to look like you cut out a big piece of paper and you're trying to mold that around your body. Like there's no
Got it.
movement in it. And so the best way to do it is either what I'm doing, so the interlocking pieces, because that creates
Yeah.
movement organically, or creating kind of like chainmail type structures that also
Yeah.
has movement in themselves, or creating like more like actual sculpted things like shoes, like bags, stuff like that.
Yeah, and the bags that you make are unbelievable. And I think like there's a real economic case there because bags, one, are not on the body as much, and
Yeah.
two, kind of, I don't want to say they're like a statement piece, but there's an element
Hmm.
of like it's a display piece
Hmm.
where the amount of hours that you put in may not make it
Hmm.
economical for someone to actually wear a pair of shoes that you hand make, but the bags, right? Like people are spending 2,500 euros on a Louis Vuitton bag. Like there's willingness to pay, I guess you would say, with
Yeah.
handbags and stuff. Not to
And I
mention they're
think,
indestructible.
yeah, pretty much, pretty much. I think one of the really great things that's kind of happening as a shift in the fashion industry, I guess, is that
Yeah.
right now there's a lot of luxury brand, like really big luxury brands, your Dior's, your Hermes, like you mentioned. Um, they're all made in Italy, but right
Yeah.
now it's coming out that actually they've been producing it in China. They do the last bit of pizzas in Italy, and they're sticking
Yeah.
on a made in Italy. But the luxury is kind of gone, and so I
Yes.
think there's a huge opportunity for smaller designers to take that and to start doing something with it. And 3D printing is one of the ways, but you can
Yeah.
start making your own more actual luxury brands, which I still think is a lot to do with like the handmade artisan component of it.
Yeah. I also wonder, like, you must be very excited about tool changers and multi-nozzle printers becoming more popular because TPU is notoriously a nightmare to support with TPU.
Yeah.
Um, I'm wondering, you, you're probably like one of the world's foremost experts in printing TPU well. And so I'm wondering, I mean, think about it. Who besides someone working in textiles prints exclusively TPU all day, every day?
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know.
true.
Like what industry? Me- uh, I was gonna say like
Shoe
medical.
industry, shoe industry, the FDM shoe industry, but it's
Yeah,
also
that's right.
fashion.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah,
maybe the guys at Zellerfeld know more than you about printing
yeah,
TPU, but they're also using a very special blend. They're using Zellermint is what they call it. So I would love to hear like what printers have you had a lot of luck with? What printers like not finding myself here.
Mhm.
What printers have you surprisingly like been disappointed with in terms of printing TPU? And then we can get into
Ooh.
um, me blowing my nose, but also tips that you have for printing TPU beyond just the slow down, low and slow.
Low and slow. Well, that was definitely the first thing. No, I think the one of the main things for me.
Sorry about
I'll
that.
give
I
you a
thought I
moment.
muted my mic. There, I did mute my mic, but then it unmuted.
I'm
All right,
sorry.
we're back.
Um,
Cut that in post.
right. So my favorite printer, unfortunately, still is the Artillery Sidewinder 2. That is
Really?
the most, yeah. And it is a printer that's out of production. It's an old printer, but it just, I think it's simple enough and it has a big build plate. So I'm not too scared to break it, which is one of the reasons why I probably like it that much. And then I can actually change the idler gear, which is something that not a lot of printers can, and it's super super important. And we had this discussion with Daniel from Kaizen 3D Prints actually at Printed because I was mentioning the Balena filament. It really needs like a super low tension on the gear that pushes the filament through. And I was saying like I don't know any other printer that does that. And he was like, "Oh, I put it in the H2D from Bambi Lab and it just printed." And I was like, "You did what?" And it did what? So I'm really surprised to hear that. And I kind of want to test it, but I don't have that printer yet. So that's sometime in the future. Oh, I think you're muted now, Jonathan.
I'm surprised as well. Thank you. That
Right?
works with that crazy tool head. But also, I want to point out you gave like a really important tip there, which is people's
Mhm.
inclination with flexible filament is to tighten the extruder gear so it forces it
Yeah,
in
no.
the path. You want super loose,
Yeah.
which is so counterintuitive.
I would
I've
say
actually
almost
found.
the
Sorry, go
softer.
ahead.
Oh, sorry.
After you.
the softer the material, almost the looser. Like there's a limit to it, of course, but the softer the material, the looser you kind of want it, is what I found for the filaments.
So I've found personally, I do not print as much TPU as you do, but I did a whole series on like exotic filaments and ended up going down to like 70s. And I found that the planetary gearboxes make a huge difference because then they kind of like turn, and also anything with a large gear. So Bondtech LGX, fantastic, obviously. And then the Prusa extruder doesn't get enough credit for flexibles. The problem is the Prusa extruder on every one of the printers has a secondary filament sensor right above as you insert. So there's no way to insert the flexible, but once you get it in, so what I do is I use the Sunlu filament joiner, and I bond it to some PETG, and then I use it as a needle and purge the needle. I'm very proud of that trick.
That's really smart. That's actually really smart.
I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of it because it was like I used to do the like try and shove it in with an Allen key. Like nothing will get past that filament sensor. It just won't happen. I mean, maybe like a 95, but who wants to print that, you know?
Because I've had my, I guess, share of tricking machines and thinking that they're printing PLA. So, for example, the Bamboo Lab, it doesn't allow you to use the AMS unless it's PLA, but you can actually put TPU in that as long as it's not too flexible. And so I've been telling the slicer, yeah, this is PLA. Just print this PLA randomly, very slow and at a high temperature, and it works then. I didn't think about the other. Yeah, smart. Oh, I think you're on mute again.
It's so funny. I don't mute when I want to, and I want, the other way around. I find that the Bamboo Core XY machines are not good at all with the flexibles, but the A1 Mini are much better.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. So again, excited to try it. I think right now I have 8 different printers and no more space. Actually 9, but it's still in the box because there's literally no more space. So I don't know how you do it. Probably just start growing and growing in space in order to keep track of all the new printers that come out.
Yes, and I am freaking ruthless. I'm going to take more cold medication so you guys don't have to hear me like this. I am ruthless about getting rid of printers. My rule is, unless I have an emotional connection to it, like I built it with my little boy, which is why that one, no matter how much trouble he gives me, will never go away. I'll spend 10 minutes fixing it. After that, it's out. Like, again, if I have an emotional connection, like Bamboo Lab gave me a limited edition 1 of 6 clear A1 Mini, that's pretty special. Or like my Prusa XL, I have an emotional connection. But any other printer is completely disposable. Like,
That's fascinating.
Well, here's my realization. If I had the kind of channel where people watched, hey, here's how to fix such and such machine, no one wants to watch that content. And so therefore, if I'm fixing a machine, it's for me. Leave alone the fact that like machines are consumable, kind of disposable here. But also remember, like, after the launch of a machine, no one wants to hear about it unless it's like a Bamboo Lab or Prusa. Like, no one cares about last year's, I don't want to name brands, but like Creality doesn't care about their last year brand. They've already moved on. You know what I mean? So why do I need a K1C here? And I'm also ruthless about like, if as soon as I get the K2, K1's out.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess too loyal to old things, which is a strange habit to have, or like a personality trait maybe for
you're in a unique position because like you need something very specific. Whereas
I think that's part of it.
Like for the general use, or I would say like mainstream use, all the printers are getting better at what normies want to do, or normies plus they're blurring the line between pro and prosumer. And so like I'm on what I would call kind of the normal prosumer path, meaning like started PLA, PETG, ABS. Now I want to print nylons and
Crazy
PCs and
stuff.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. And all the printers are moving with me, right? Like Prusa now has a printer out of the box that prints PCCF. None of their printers have been enclosed up until now. Creality's, new printers hit 120, 130 on the on the bed. So what I'm saying is, like, for me, every new printer is probably better than the old printers, which is why I can get rid of them. For you, I think it makes total sense that you're like, no, this Anycubic from 10 years ago has this special extruder that I just need.
Yeah.
But if I were you, I would play around with the Prusa Mark IV S or
Yeah.
any of the newer Prusas.
Okay. I have the Mark IV, literally, I'm looking at it, but I have tried one thing and then it didn't quite work how I wanted. And then since then I've left it. So there's like a layer of dust. I might try it again.
Like I said, the thing is, either in your case, you may, rather than doing the welding filament trick, it may just be worthwhile to remove the filament sensor or like physically take it off and put it on the side or short circuit it. Like, you're in this interesting space where what you do is so specialized that it almost makes sense for you to like modify your printers irreparably. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and it has been. So for the filament sensor on some of the printers, I just put a piece of PLA in it, and it depends on. I haven't figured out the Prusa enough to know like what I would need to do for that one. But with some of my other printers, I just push like a piece of filament like cut off on both ends, so that the filament sensor is just out. It's working, it's on, but it's not doing anything.
It could be cool to do some content together where we help you, like, you and I mean, like, help you kind of create the perfect fashion printer. It's not hard, by the way. Like, it also depends if your audience would react to it well, or if they just want to see fashion. Because, as Joe said, it printed, like, it's two totally distinct audiences between the printers people and the printing people with overlap, but it's two hobbies. But I think, like, it could be really cool, I mean, to build a Voron for you that's big with an LGX.
I think that'd be awesome. Like, I think there's a space there, and especially more fashion people are starting to get into the hobby. They don't need like a 20 by 20 build plate that can print really high temperatures and really fast. So I think there's space there for a new printer that's specific for this type of, like, I guess, hobby.
Well, and so I imagine you never print higher than this, right?
No. But so that's just because of what I do, because there's fashion people that definitely need like shoe space height.
I have an interesting idea. But
that's also not super high.
I'll come back to the interesting idea because we're at the halfway point, which means it's time to thank this episode's sponsor, which is PCBWay. If you don't have the printer to print what you need, so for example, metal or CNC or even selective laser sintering, selective laser melting, polyjet. They basically have every technology for fabrication you could possibly want. What I love about it is you literally get an instant quote online. You just upload your files. And I just last week uploaded something. You toss it in there. They give you a quote. Here's a cool thing that I discovered that they have that their competitors don't, which is tool steels, and not just like one kind of tool steel. Like every grade of tool steel you could possibly want. And I did some consulting with ChatGPT, and it was like, no, you need this esoteric kind of steel, which is actually stronger than any other kind of steel for that particular kind of stress. Of course, they had it. So PCBWay rocks. There's a link in the description to get $5 off your first order. And thank you to PCBWay for making this show possible. Here's my idea. It would be really cool to adapt a Voron or other printer to literally just make it the perfect printer for you. So, for example, figure out what the max build height you could possibly need. It's probably like 5 or 10 millimeters.
Are we including shoe people in this and like bag people? Because that
100 millimeters. Just imagine a printer which is like 350 by 350, but then it's only this tall. Because what?
Yeah, I think that would work. Like 30 centimeters high then. 20 centimeters high print
Sure,
space.
sure. A belt printer, that's an interesting idea, tactical printing. A belt printer could be pretty cool too for printing like how you do things on repeat.
I think the only like thing, because I've been thinking about a belt printer for a while now, the only thing that I'm not liking about the idea is that TPU is stuck to the bed. So in my
Correct.
like my nightmare version of what would happen is that it prints perfectly and then it just goes around and comes back around with the print still on it because it wasn't able to scrape it off. You know what I mean? That's the
These are
only
all
reason I haven't
fixable
tried this
things though.
yet.
Like the idea
Probably.
maker has a little shield that goes up
Yeah,
against the
yeah.
bed to prevent that. And I imagine like take an angle grinder to it, sharpen it, it'll peel the stuff off.
Mhm.
But also, Magigoo makes a. Uh, it's in the other room. They make a special version of Magigoo for flexible filaments, which I haven't asked them, but flexibles
Okay.
don't separate. So I imagine the reason they made it is actually as a protective layer. I'll do some tests for you if
Magic.
you want.
Yeah, I've
Send
never
me
heard.
like send me some stuff to print, and we'll see what happens. And it could be kind of interesting. Like, will it separate? Because also the heating element is not on the full bed. So the question
Oh, it
is
doesn't
like,
need to be.
no, what I'm saying is intentionally it does that, but is it gonna cool down fast enough to where the model will release?
I don't know if that's the issue because for me, I don't print with bed temperature. Like my bed temperature is off.
Ah,
Surprise.
that's interesting. I'm just thinking in
It
terms
depends
of
on
like,
not for all of them, but for most of them.
because a product like the Magigoo is heat activated. So ideally, sometimes it
Right.
sticks so well with like ABS, but ideally the way it's supposed to work is it's extremely sticky when hot. Then when the bed cools down, it self-releases, which it does with most materials. Um, send me
Worthwhile.
some
The other
files.
thing
I'll
I'm
try it
thinking
out.
of, maybe the belt doesn't actually need to be a belt. It could also be like kind of something that just grips onto it and just keeps on going, like a, you know what I mean? Thinking about
Yeah.
like, I don't know, that might be an option. Anyways, what do you want to print? I can send you
Just one of your like
options.
little TPU pieces. Just,
Okay,
as a
yep.
favor to you. I
Sounds
don't
like
think I'm
a
going to
plan.
sit there and try and assemble.
Fixed.
I wanted to ask you, what do you design in?
Rhino. Pretty
Rhino.
much all in Rhino. It's a combination of Rhino and Grasshopper. So Rhino is the 3D modeling software, and then you can click into or like you can fill in the commands of whatever it is that you want to do, like create a curve, create a whatever. You can also type in Grasshopper. That will open up a new window and a new software. And that software you can basically it's like a visual coding language. So you drop blocks of mathematics or blocks of code onto a canvas, and then you can create your object and you can create it parametrically, which means if I were to make this mug, I can say, okay, this circle at the bottom is X, and I can still use a slider to change that, even though my
Yeah.
model is already finished.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So why Rhino and not like a Fusion or an Onshape or
because I want to use Grasshopper. That's the sole reason that I went into Rhino.
so explain to me the difference between, because I've heard of Rhino, I've not heard of Grasshopper.
So it's just one of the options that you can create parametric designs. So, like all the way in the beginning, I was saying about how I want to create clothing that fits one person. The goal for me would be to have that software where I can be like, okay, this is my design. Now these are the measurements for this person, change my design, and I can print it again without needing to redesign the actual design itself. So you're creating
Yeah.
blueprints rather than designs.
You should be able to do that in, I mean, you can do that in like Onshape Fusion. You just use variables and then you have parametric design. But I guess it's also an element of like, there's probably some features in there that work for your workflow, I'd imagine.
I think I'm not too sure about Fusion and Shaper. I might need to look into that. I assume they're going to be a lot more simplified. I do know
Huh.
that Blender actually has the option as well with nodes. And I found that out like literally 2 weeks ago. And it was mainly because I was talking with a shoe designer and he was showing his workflow. And literally within 5 minutes that we were on a call, he was able to design a full shoe, like a fully parametric. I can't
Wow.
even comprehend how he did it so fast. But seeing that, I was like, whoa, there's other software that does this as well, similar methods. So I'm
Yeah.
sure there's more software out there. This is just the first one that I came across, then started learning, and I'm now
I'm looking
comfortable with
at
the software.
Grasshopper now,
So
and it looks like it's a lot more capable with things like meshes and like
yeah,
very complex weaving and geometries that would crash on shape, probably.
yeah,
It's,
it's
it's so
super
it
powerful.
almost feels like it's somewhere between parametric modeling and mesh modeling, and you have kind of the best of both worlds. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
makes sense.
definitely worthwhile looking into. It's mainly used by architects and jewelry designers at the moment.
Fair enough. To mute myself correctly, and I figured out why it's not muting me in the right time. Someone wanted to know, Monkey Boy wanted to know what's the most insane or ambitious project or commission that you've ever undertaken.
I think the most insane one was the pants that I made for Belena. Because initially that was going to be like a three-way collaboration. So that was going to be an embroidery company, the filament company, and then me. And I was like, I'm going to print pants because I've never seen that printed before. I've never even sewn pants, let alone 3D print them. How hard could it be? Well, that was an immense challenge, but also a lot of fun. Learned a lot along the way. I had to say, like, okay, we're going to cut out the embroidery because this is getting way too complex. So I'm still working on that as like a different side project, still trying to figure that out with custom infills. And the pens, at least, is the thing that finished. So that was the most complex one to date, I would say.
Really
Thinking if I have
interesting.
others.
You also told me about a card project that you're working on. Tell me about that.
So I was thinking about how I can share how to make the modular connections that I often design. And it's like Lego for clothing. How do you start designing that? And so I was trying to make a basically break down my own system and then created a formula that then became so complex that I wasn't able to use it. So I was like, okay, this needs different levels. And like, let's start at level one. And that kind of started off like, oh, I can make a game out of this. And that's what I did at the moment. So if I just grab a couple of cards here, this is the level cards. And the game is literally you've got all of the different variables, and at a certain level, you'll be able to see which one you are allowed to kind of pick a card or pick a prompt, and then which ones are better to just stick with a certain fixed thing to make it easier on yourself. Um,
Whoa, that's over
and
my head.
so for for the rest of today, this is what I'll be working on. My prompt is I'm working in a triangle grid.
Uh huh.
I'm working with arrow shapes,
Okay.
and I've got another glitch, which is I can't read that. Add an extra module connected from only one point, like a trapeze artist. So that's what I'll be
Okay.
working on today.
Really interesting and a really cool way to like not get writer's block or designer's block. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's a thing, but Monkey Boy asked a really interesting question as well. If you need a zipper or buttons, do you print those, or how do you get some of your pieces on and off?
I have been printing the connections to actually uh, as closures. I have it. Let me
Yeah,
see
show
if
us
I
some cool
can.
stuff.
Okay, let me grab this. One sec.
Whoa.
So, for example, this one is printed, and all of these connections on the inside are all just push buttons. So
Wow.
that's like one way to do it. And then I'm working with some haberdashery as well. I have not yet 3D printed a zipper. That's still on my list of things I would love to do.
That's really cool. And you told me before we hit record that you've been playing around with magnets, which I think is really cool. Like, I don't know why we don't use magnets in our clothing more.
I think it's partially to do, even myself, I'm like, I don't know if I would want magnets that close on my body.
Really?
But at the same time I don't know why. That's probably something in my head that's like not at all based in science. Um,
Huh. I mean, you have magnets
yeah,
in your ears right now,
I know,
for the
which is
record.
also something that I've been thinking of where I'm like, probably 10 year down the line, there might be some evidence that this was a bad choice. Uh,
I don't know
Maybe.
about that.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. Maybe.
I don't know either. But I still use those. But for the magnets, if I can avoid it, then is it a good idea? I don't know.
Interesting.
But the game was, or the aim was to create a new type of closure. So I wanted to try out to print magnets inside something. And do I have the sample? Yes. No. Pity. But these are the actual magnets, and they're so tiny. So if
Wow.
I grab one out of them, it's like super tiny. And so that didn't end well, to say the least of it, because I think I need to actually use glue. This is the sample. I found it.
Ah, it's pretty cool.
I think it would
Pretty
work
cool.
in a like a back design or something like that. But
And it just like got magnetized up to the print head and destroyed the printer?
I I don't know. So I was when I like whilst I was putting them in, I wasn't using any glue like a smart person would, and so probably what happened, I had my tweezers and I was hovering over one of the other magnets, and so it
Yeah.
just scooted away. And I was like, I can't see it anywhere, but it probably will be fine. It might have attached itself somewhere that's okay. And then the first time it happened, it was fine. And then the second time, the printer started doing all kinds of weird things. So I was like, oh yeah, it definitely attached somewhere where it shouldn't have. So I need to take it apart and figure out where this magnet went.
Yeah, you can sometimes get away with a brass nozzle, especially since a lot of
Yeah.
printers are now using ceramic heater cores. Like a
Mm.
Revo with a brass nozzle, you're fine. But then any hardened steel or any heat block or any of the like extruder nozzles, which are bimetal, yeah, that's gonna get sucked up in the air. Um,
Yeah.
Live and learn, right?
I mean, this is why I was saying in the beginning, I like to have cheap printers or at least one cheap printer where I can experiment these kind of things
Totally,
without needing to think
totally.
about what happens if it fails. Yeah.
What are the things that are still holding you back? Like, what are the technologies that you want to see? Whether it's, I imagine, like non-planar printing, not really that exciting to you because of the thinness factor you talked about. But what are the things where like, if we could just get there, if we could just have this
Actually,
technology for consumers, it would empower so much more.
actually, non-planar printing is one of the things I'm most excited about, and it's the reason
Really?
why I wanted to go into Grasshopper. Yeah, because you can create custom G code in there and create like non-planar designs. That was one of the main things. But it is incredibly complex to go beyond. Like, for example, vases is relatively easy to create non-planar,
Sure.
but textiles is a different level. And there's research from a Japanese guy, and I was trying to figure out what he did, and he actually shared his code. But then within the Grasshopper code, he put like custom C sharp, and I don't know C sharp, so that was kind of
Wow.
like end of a journey. And I tried debugging it, but it was so complex. But he's one of the few I've seen that actually did non-planar 3D printing in a vertical textile format, which is insane. So
So
I would say that's
explain that to me,
definitely.
like, because you can't
Mm-hmm.
you can't I mean, you had said things need to be thin and move. Like TPU needs to
Mm-hmm.
be thin to be on the body. So how does non-planar work? Is it about printing? I guess I can't wrap my head around it based
I
on what
think
you
it would
said
be a
before.
combination. Yeah. It would be a combination. That's why I was saying I think I'm super excited about rapid liquid printing, because that
Yeah.
means you have the gel that would be your like
Right.
support, And then you can go non-planar and create like woven structures that have that
Got
ability
it.
to move, but then
Got it.
yeah, so that would be like
Because
the
yeah,
combination. And I
TPU
think
and bridging is a non-starter as well.
yeah, no. Yeah.
Huh. Really interesting. Monkey Boy continues to have fantastic questions. He wants to know, where do you see 3D printing fashion heading in the future? Do you think we'll see
Ooh.
people actually wearing 3D printed fashion, or do you think they're going to be novelty items?
I think I already see people starting to like wear it. At least in the people that I follow, they actually print stuff themselves and then try it out and start wearing it. Um, then there's 3D printed bags, which is already happening. Shoes, a lot more, and I think that's only gonna get more and more because there's really like a case for customization.
Right.
And I think 3D printing fashion is not necessarily the aim. It's the 3D printing is a tool to create better fashion, in my opinion. And
Right.
so when it comes to shoes, for example, where you really need the customization or where it would actually add a layer to whatever you get, I think that's where it would be really powerful.
That's really, really interesting. And you don't do any 3D printing on existing textiles, do you? Like Kaizen? Or you play around with it? It's just not your thing, huh?
It's just not my thing. And like I have samples in here, like in my box of samples, and it's just not my thing.
Fair enough. Are there any other things besides, you mentioned the gel and you mentioned non-planar? Are there things that are
Mhm.
coming down the pipeline? Like, how big of a deal is, tool changers and dual extruder and stuff actually going to be for you, do you think,
I'm
in the
only
interim?
starting out with that. So yeah, I've been playing around with Hue Forge, which is like
Okay.
creating really how do you say, actual images.
Right.
But the only printer that I have that does multicolor is the Bambi Lab, which is the TPU is not great, and the
No.
result was just it was messy. Which is the one video I made about printing on textiles, and it absolutely failed because I was experimenting with both the textiles and the Hue Forge, and yeah. Um, but I think that would be a great place to still see some more printers that can actually do actual TPU
Send me like a
multicolor.
little sampling of what you're doing, like the best things to show,
Mhm.
and I'll send it around to some companies that have some cool stuff coming out.
Interesting. Very curious.
I can't say anything, but after the stream, I'll also say something to you that you should investigate with a company that I know you
Okay.
already know.
Okay. Fascinating. Let's see.
Yeah. Um, Favorite thing to design? Like, what's, if you just want to feel the love, feel the vibe, is it a shirt? Is it bags? Like, what are the things that put you in your happy place? Or is it the case that you get bored of designing one type of thing and move on to the next challenge?
My absolute favorite thing to design is a trend I have seen somewhere and I absolutely love and I want to have it. But then I want to create a version that is like one of a one. And so make my own twist on a trend. So it's not necessarily a certain object or a certain style.
Okay. Okay. Very, very cool. Well, Bridge, I am about to burst because I drank 2 liters of water since I'm so sick. So I'm going to bring us to a close, but let everyone know what platforms
Bro.
you're on and where they can find you and learn more and check out. I think people can download your designs on Patreon. Do the pitch. Do the whole pitch.
The pitch. So you can find me on Variable Seams, and that's on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I do a little bit of everything, mainly short form at the moment. There's going to be some more long form in the future.
Cool.
And you can find my designs. There some at Patreon, but everything is going to go towards tanks. And I'm working on that throughout this year. So that would be the best place to find things.
Very cool. And Thanks, I guess, really is making, I think, a huge effort to connect with creators, to support designers. Like, I know Jonathan, all multi-board, it's all on things. A lot of
Yeah.
designers have moved over there, so that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's
Well, we will
especially
put.
nice
Oh,
for.
sorry.
Oh, sorry. No,
I
go
was
for it.
going into my whole pitch. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
Fly, I want to hear what you have to say.
Oh, I was gonna say it's nicer file management, but it's more for on the content creator side because I think Patreon is just not for managing files. It's a mess. So
Right.
yeah.
Awesome. We will link in the description to all your different links and socials. And thanks so much for coming on. This was really interesting just to get it insight into a side of 3D printing that we don't normally get to see.
My pleasure.
All right, I will take us out, run to the restroom, and then we can have a debrief. Thanks everyone for
Yeah, sure.
for watching the stream. Take care, everyone.
See you later. Bye bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Infill Podcast. For show notes or links to anything mentioned in today's episode, visit thenextlayer.com. If you enjoyed the episode, please don't forget to leave us a review wherever you're listening, or click the like button to let us know. And consider subscribing to The Next Layer on YouTube so you can tune in live and participate in the next conversation. We'll see you on the next layer.